This is Stephen Byer from Unearthed Films.
This is Eric Stanzi.
This is Fred Vogel.
This is Krandamit Stake.
This is Scott Philip Gergens, director of 29 Needles, and you are experiencing Sadistic Cinema.
Sadistic Cinema.
Sadistic Cinema!
This is Sadistic Cinema.
Welcome, everybody, to the darkest, deepest side of the internet. This is Sadistic Cinema. And as always, I am your host, David Gibson. And here, my brother, my partner in crime is Stephen Nemeth. Stephen, how you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm doing excellent, man, and really stoked for the show tonight because this is kind of a return to one of the earliest shows we did together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have a special guest, somebody who we have always had great love for. And we used to have an inside joke that this guy's name was mentioned at least once an episode. But with us here tonight is Fred Vogel. Fred, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good, guys. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. And hey, man, thank you, first of all, because I know you're not... you're here to talk about the final interview, and I know you have really kept it under wraps because of, some assholes out there that like to give away your movie for free, and I know you're not out there doing a lot of press, and it's an honor to have you on and giving us a chance to see the film.
Thank you. I appreciate what you guys say, and I support what you guys do. That's why I was willing to let you guys take a look at the movie and us talk about it today.
That's awesome. And again, we appreciate it. Well, Fred, first of all, before we can get into the movie, we're coming up on 20 years of you being in the business. What's the secret to your longevity, my friend? Because we've seen so many people in our little circles just come and go. What is Fred Vogel's secret to keep on doing it 20 years later?
I think the art stands for itself. I think I've created some pretty interesting and important films in the underground. I've always stayed true to my art and what I wanted to create. I also think Toe Tag and myself have always been supporters of the genre and other filmmakers, and I think that's really what kind of helps you stay afloat. It's never been about ego. We know where we stand. I know where I stand as a filmmaker, so I just want to keep making movies because that's what I love to do.
Well, and let me put my take on this. And this is I'm not an ass kisser, so I'm not kissing your ass, but I also think credit always needs to be given when it's due. The way that the community sees you is pretty phenomenal. Me and Stephen being at on this side of the business, we hear all of the dirt. Other filmmakers, they might be off air, say this or that. One thing that I have never heard was another filmmaker talk bad about you. Every time your name is brought up, it is nothing but respect. So and I just want to pass that along to you because your name does come up in a lot of conversations on and off air, and you just have a respect and the way that you treat the fans, and I think that has a lot to do with it. Even though you make great art, I think that has a lot to do with it as well.
Well, I appreciate that big time.
I know so many Toe Tag fans that feel a big connection with you and your work, Fred. And I think we see it because how sought after memorabilia and your physical releases are with people wanting it personalized by you, and even hammers and stuff. It's people really do feel connected to you through the art and look for that extra little thing, and they want to see it personalized on the shelf, and they're just driven to be gung-ho lifelong fans of previously Toe Tag and now with the final interview Fred Vogel films themselves.
That's what I've always strived for, was to put out great product, be there for my fans, be there to support people who need some advice. I couldn't tell you how many filmmakers I've given advice to, and or just kids, reaching out and how do I make blood or how do I do this. I always try to find time for that because there was nobody there for me growing up to reach out to. I had to dive into books and I had to learn on my own. So
A lot of trial and error.
Exactly. So I wanted to make sure that if I have the time to give, I do.
I got a question about your early influences. What would be the first film that made you like just become obsessed with film as a medium? At what point would that have been the same film that made you want to be a filmmaker? And then also, and the answer to all three of these questions might even be the same film, but what gave you a appreciation for effects filmmaking and special effects in film?
Oh, Frankenstein is definitely the film that I owe my filmmaking life to. If it wasn't for James Whale's classic Frankenstein starring Boris Karloff, I wouldn't be making movies today. I think a 5-year-old's eyes watching, that Boris Karloff come down the hall and turn around and you see that shot of his face, that image right there just burnt into my eyes and burnt into my soul, So that was really like the first thing that made me, love monsters and love horror and love film. I was also really lucky too, growing up in the early 80s, my hometown was like one of the first towns to kind of get HBO. And HBO would put out some really, interesting movies. So I would just like watch this, cable television at a really young age. My mom was working constantly, so the television was kind of like a babysitter. And then, of course, the video stores and, going to the video stores and renting everything that I could. And I rented everything, not just horror movies, but I rented comedies and dramas. And, if the cover looked cool, I wanted to watch it. And it's, pretty much, I got this weird thing where, if I watch something, I remember it. So I just absorbed it. At that age, when you're young like that, you just absorb everything. And, and I think I absorbed so much, and especially, the horror films, movies like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. You watch these movies and then, I would watch the credits and I would see these names and who did the makeup, and I'd see names on, all these films that just kept repeating. Like I kept seeing, Tom Savini, and I kept seeing Rob Bottin and Rick Baker and George Romero, Tobe Hooper, John Carpenter. So you just keep digging and digging and digging and digging until you watch everything you can get your hands on, and that's what I did.
Yeah, I think we probably all three have fallen into that boat. It's you can't really put a price on those 80s video stores that we were able to grow up with, and how much they influenced us with the big box art. It's most of us are around the same age. We've all gone through that same thing. So it's kind of amazing that we all share that.
Yeah, it's one thing we all have in common. We're all, especially that age bracket, kids that were young in the 80s and, really had a chance to know what it was like to go into a video store on a Friday night and smell the popcorn, and you'd be disappointed when you reach behind the box and the movie was missing, or whatever. Those are magical times.
I remembered having to be on waiting lists for certain titles, and I would try to get on them for release day. And I think that's when I started to, between certain albums that would come out, music, and then, video releases, I got a sense for this magic of new release day, and waiting for those dates for certain films. And I loved, there's a few titles, especially, horror and slasher and gore titles, where I was I did get it on release day. I requested it early enough. I saw it in Fangoria or Gorzone or something, and I knew that they were coming out, and I was the first kid on the block to have it, or my friends would come over and watch it there, and that was a magical time.
It was, I remember that, looking in the back of the in Fangoria magazine and seeing those release dates and being like, yes, what's coming out? These are the movies that are, maybe in production, things like that. I actually, in my first film, August Underground, I killed my video store clerk, the guy who used to rent me movies when I was a little kid. He was probably 16, 17 years old. I was 13. And, my mom would be like, Fred can rent whatever he wants. And he would just like let me rent whatever I wanted. And I remember when I was making August Underground, I went to him. I ran into him. He just happened to be working out of a liquor store. And he was managing a liquor store. And I was just like, dude, I'm making my first movie. And I want to put you in there because, you are important to me. You were that older kid that would be like, hey, Fred, you want to look at these posters? Or, hey, Fred, did you see that, RoboCop just came out? Here it is early or whatever. Yeah. I remember those things like it was yesterday.
And one thing about your early career, Fred, that I've always found truly amazing is that you've made some of the most disturbing films ever made. And I say that hands down. That's not hyperbole, because I'm the type that searched all these films out, and your early trilogy is films that really touched me on a visceral level. But in looking at these films, you never really they're uber violent, but you never glamorized the violence. You made it seem so real and sickening. Was that your initial thought going in? Because I know you're a young guy, just trying to show off the great FX work that you're trying to get out there to the world. Was a lot of that underneath kind of symbolism that we see now, was that thought to be there, or in hindsight do you see that?
It was always thought to be there. I look at it like this, us horror fans are probably some of the nicest, most caring individuals out there. We're all, most of us, some of us are parents, some of us are fur babies' parents, there's lots of love, and we watch these movies because they give us that certain feeling that provokes us. But yet, we're able to move on and take what we get from it and not really go out there and be a fucking lunatic. Yeah. I loved watching Jason, smash somebody's, head in with an axe. Would I ever do that? Absolutely not, because I know that's fucking wrong.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we kind of cheer for Jason to do that. Yeah. We don't cheer for Peter Mountain.
No.
You're like, this is a sick motherfucker.
I can't believe it's ugly.
Yeah.
Violence is ugly, and that's something that, toe tag always wanted to show in the films was, we wanted to make violence hurt because that's what it really does. Like, there is not one kill in any of my 8 movies that is fun. There is nothing laughable about any of it. Every drop of blood has evil on it, coming from the person doing the killing. So it was always important for me and the rest of Toe Tag to, show violence how it really is. Yeah. And I also think that's kind of what, helps us with our staying power too, and the power of the films. Is we never made light of it.
Yes, and there's even things where that philosophy seems to have, stayed with you into the final interview. And I'm not going into specifics of anything, but the concept that those actions are vile and disgusting and repulsive still exists. When we confront those elements in the final interview.
Yeah.
Although they're dealt with in a completely different way.
Yes.
I think that would be safe. That would be safe to say, because this is not like your past films. This is a completely different feel, style, everything. But it still is very Fred.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
How did the concept of the final interview come about?
Well, for a pretty long time, I've been trying to get one of my dream projects off the ground called Pittsburgh Body Removal. And unfortunately, I got really, really close to making it, and then the money fell through. And that one stung pretty bad because how close we were getting. I was getting some real traction. There's a lot of money involved, more money, making this than anything that I've ever done in my whole career. Actors who I couldn't even believe that we were in consideration to talking with and getting them the script. And, I had a producer from Los Angeles, and it was really starting to blossom. And then, just like that, poof, gone. And Shelby and I, my wife, we were out having lunch at this Chinese restaurant, and it just so happened to have a television on. And I look up at the television, and I think Larry King was on, and he was interviewing somebody. And in between my bites of my fried rice and my chicken lo mein, I said, what if I made a movie about a guy interviewing a guy on death row, and the whole movie shot on videotape, and it's like this lost, missing tape. Okay. So that was like the first initial idea that popped into my head, and Shelby looked over. She's like, I fucking love it. So I went home that day, and I started writing these characters, the two main characters, Oliver Ross and Darius Tidman. And once I got a couple pages of who these people are, I reached out to my close friend Rebecca Swan, and I was like, hey, I have a treatment and a couple character studies. Would you like to work on this with me? And she said yes. And next thing you know, we started moving right along. And the crazy thing is that she had a hard time with the idea of having these two characters just talking to each other and not making it boring.
Yeah.
And she came up with the idea of adding this third character in there named Rhonda, who was the producer that would be only heard through an earbud during the interview. And I remember reading the script for the first time where she was in there, and I loved it so much, but I was so pissed because I knew that this was going to cost me more money because I needed to hire another actor.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to keep this, because, now, since the money people backed out of Pittsburgh Body Removal, I have to pay for this myself. And, movies cost money, and I didn't have a lot of money, and I was just trying to figure out ways where I can make this film for cheap and get it out there, still in an underground way. But the script was just so good that I was like, I have to find more money, and I have to figure out a way to make this movie because the script is just so good. And I think, when people started reading the script, that's when I saw the power of it. My producer, Ross Putman, who was helping me with Pittsburgh Body Removal, he was a Los Angeles guy, and, he was sending the script to, these different actors who were way bigger than I can get on, just a personal level. And everybody was really loving the script, and that's how we started getting some of the people involved.
Which I would think with the script, because watching this movie, I think a lot of the technique, you change aspect ratio a lot, and the sound design adds so much to the movie that it's hard to think what this would just be on paper because there's so many outside factors that make this movie what it is. And use the aspect ratio because it's basically between being a cinematic experience, but also this is a live interview that's on TV. You go back to the TV aspect ratio as well.
Yes.
And I think it's I love the way that you do that because it does break up the film. And the sound design's also really, really good. Now, we talked a little bit before, and you said this film was set in 1983. What was was there a reasoning to set it in the 80s? Because the film feels timeless. I don't think, if you would have said it now, I don't think it would have changed our experience of the film. What specifically about the early 80s made you want to set the film then?
I just really like that moment in time. People still had a different, way of speaking with each other. It's not like how it is today where you have to watch every little thing you say.
Yeah.
Cars, I liked, the way vehicles looked. I liked the way clothing looked. There was it made it feel a little bit more important. Being in the 80s, and of course, one of the biggest, people on death row in the 80s was Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal. I remember as a kid, watching the news and they were going to execute him and, how that was all handled. And especially a lot of the guy, Oliver Ross, his character is if you look at talk show hosts now, they don't have that gravitas that he has,
Yeah, he kind of reminded me like the Morton Downey Jr.'s and Geraldo Rivera's of that area.
I definitely got a little Geraldo off of it, but I see the Larry King in there too.
Yeah, Tom Snyder was another big one. Guys that smoke cigarettes when they would do interviews. Dick Cavett and. There was just back then. There was a lot of great men
and personalities. They actually had personalities back then.
Yeah.
Now with this film, and again, we're not going to get too deep into it, but it's basically Oliver Ross and Tidman they take up the chunk of the running time, and between those two actors, the chemistry was just amazing, and the performances that you got out of these guys you had to have good performances for this movie to work. How did the casting process go to find your actors?
Well, the first person to get the script was Damien Marusak, and Damien's been with me since Murder Collection Volume 1. And, he had a little spot in Murder Collection, and he had a little spot in Maskhead. And then he was the lead in Sella Turcica. And he was just, he's an actor who I totally can put 100% of my trust and my faith into and know that he's going to kill it. So I gave him the copy of the script, and I told him to grow his hair, all of it. When the time comes, we'll cut it and we'll change you into what I envision seeing. But right now, just let it grow. And he, through I forgot how many months it took for us to get everything together. But he ended up getting this really great look with his beard and his hair and everything. And I just thought it looked completely different than I've seen anybody else, any other kind of murderer on death row from any of the documentaries that I've seen or real people out there. And as for Granger Heinz was someone who my producer Ross Putman found. And he actually gave me a few people to look at. And I was going through their IMDb's and, looking at some of the movies that these actors are in. And, Granger I actually drew a picture of Oliver Ross when I was writing, I'd write the character synopsis, character development pages. and he looked just like the picture I drew out of my head. And plus, he worked with Steven Spielberg. He was in
Lincoln. Yeah.
I mean, this guy's been in everything. He's such a great actor. And I was just like, you know what? Like, if this is going to be this is my first SAG movie. Like, I want a guy that was directed by Steven Spielberg. Like, he's coming to Pittsburgh and working with me. So I thought that was, I thought he was just the right guy, and boy was I lucky, because the chemistry we had together as friends, meeting each other and going out to lunch and talking about music and rock and roll and everything. It was just like two buddies that have known each other for years, and it was easy for me to make the introduction to Damien, because Damien is one of my brothers, and those guys completely clicked, and I was very lucky to have Granger and Damien have a few days of rehearsal time together, to where they can sit there and work on this script before we jumped right into it. I made sure that I had this extra time with these guys so they can rehearse and feel each other out, so it wasn't awkward when we were filming.
Yeah, because the film it's so much based off of that chemistry, because you basically have two alpha males trying to manipulate each other. Oliver Ross is trying to get his story, and we don't really know what Tidman's intentions are, but he's a sociopathic killer, so of course he's going to want to bend and manipulate the situation to the best of his ability as well. And that game of mental chess just came across so well, and they worked really well off of each other.
They did, and another blessing that I had was getting Diane Franklin in the movie. I knew, since this movie takes place in the 80s, I wanted an 80s icon who I love. And it's easy for me to reach out to the actors on the horror convention circuit, but I really wanted to steer away from that. I wanted somebody who I thought was more iconic in my 80s world of movies.
Yeah.
And Diane Franklin, with her roles in Last American Virgin, which is one of my all-time favorite movies, and the Amityville Horror and Bill and Ted and Better Off Dead, she was my number one choice. And when I got to have her in the film, it really brought everything together, because she's kind of like the chess player in the movie. She kind of guides Oliver to what he needs to do.
Now, with the cinematography, Jason Prowell, is that how you pronounce his name?
Jason Prowell, yeah.
Yeah. How did your guys' relationship work? Is it more you're setting up the shots and you know exactly what you want, or is you kind of give him free will, or is it just like this a collective?
So Jason and I go back to the REDSIN Tower. Jason was my head grip and electric guy on the REDSIN Tower, and his normal day-to-day is he's like one of the top grips in New Orleans, and he works on all the big movies that come into the city. I mean, Jurassic Parks to you name it. It was shot in New Orleans over the last 15 years. He's been working on it. And I actually reached out to him to see if he wanted to do the same thing he did on REDSIN, was like, do the grip and electric work. And he was like, oh, man, that sounds awesome. I'd love to work together again. But he's like, I'm really interested in shooting movies. I really want to shoot a movie. And then he's like, do you have a DP? And I'm like, no, I don't have a DP. And we ended up, working it out to where he was going to be the DP. And it was a no-brainer for me, because, again, this is somebody who I knew already, somebody who I trusted, who was part of the family. And it was so nice to have him back. And, he is just he's just so professional. And like that's really what
Now, Stephen, I know you definitely have some questions about the cinematography.
Well, I do, but I also wanted, I mean, and I'm glad you mentioned Diane Franklin too. I thought she was great in the film. Rhonda was exactly what we needed to break that stuff up. I really dug the cinematography too from Jason.
Yeah.
But like, you had a few people that we know, and a few friends of mine were in your crew here. Could you let everybody know about the great crew you worked with?
Absolutely.
Guys?
So, Jason was my director of photography, and he brought in his really good buddy Daniel. And I always butcher Daniel's last name, and I'm so sorry, Daniel, that I'm butchering your last name, but it's like Daniel Tazirk. And Jason was we were shooting the movie on a Black Magic, and the only other person I knew that happened to have a Black Magic was my buddy Brian Williams. So Brian Williams, a filmmaker in his own right, he came up to Pittsburgh, and he was one of our second cameras. And when we were doing the interview, it was a lifesaver having these two cameras instead of just using one camera and going back and forth. That, having, especially during the editing process, having both those cameras running at the same time really saved my ass. And I really think that we blasted through it. I think we did 18 pages a day for the first two to 3 days. I mean, we were just smoking through the script because the actors were off book. They knew exactly, and this movie it's all dialogue. This whole movie is just like, monologue after monologue after monologue.
I would love to read the screenplay of this because it has a wonderful rhythm, and I love a good screenplay, and it also feels like it would make one hell of a good stage play too.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that's, when shooting it, that's the way I approached it, was like a stage play. And I'm now, when you guys like look back at it, the movie really never jumps to that other side except a few times.
Yeah.
But it's all pretty much shot looking at, Oliver and Tidman. And even the shots when it's, when you see like the prison guards or whatever, it's all done to kind of like resemble like how I would see a stage play.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely see that.
But then, back to the crew, I had a friend of mine named Chris Maurer, who's a local Pittsburgh guy who's, I've worked with him on, My Uncle John Was a Zombie, John Russo's movie that I did effects for with Jeremy a few years ago. And then my editor, Jamie Lockhart, he was there, and that was really amazing too, is, being able to shoot and then get the footage right to him. So we were literally like putting the movie together as we were shooting it.
Man.
And then I had, a couple of my proteges out there, like Keith Voigt Jr. and Ryan Logston were involved in the movie. Don Moore, who was with me on Sella Turcica, and of course my wife Shelby, which I can't make a movie without her. She is the left to my right. And then Ross Putman, my producer, Autumn Cook, who was the makeup artist. So I have Chris Bell, my sound guy. I mean, literally, I can name all the people because there was only like 10 of us that made it. Jason.
Yeah, and we're real close to Ryan. Both me and Steven. We're both we both really love Ryan. But we've had Brian Williams on the show before. Keith Voigt came on the show, didn't he?
Yeah, when he was talking about
back in the Army days.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just awesome. That so meant you had a lot of talent working there, and that's just amazing.
And Keith, I guess he got a credit on, I was a co-cinematographer on American Guinea Pig BLOODSHOCK, and he's got a credit on there. I guess he did some pickup stuff later on. That's kind of cool that I saw him sharing a credit on that movie too. But I love seeing. I caught a moment where I got a good view of Ryan during the movie. And that was pretty cool because, we do like Ryan a lot, and it was nice to see him appear on screen briefly. And it's good to see him helping out in the assistant producer. Is that what he was doing?
No, he was Ryan's job on the movie.
Production.
He was like my head. He was like my head PA, and then he was also in the movie. He's one of the cameramen.
Yeah, and also Dave Parker had a little brief cameo in the film too. He's another friend of the show as well. So it was awesome to see all these people involved.
Yeah. And a lot of these people, I've known for a long time since, I've been doing this a long time, guys. Like you said, 20 years. So I've met some really wonderful people. And again, I like to give opportunities to people. And, since they are fans of, they started out as being fans of mine, like come take that next step and, let's work together.
It was awesome to see you. It was awesome to see you take this leap. And I think I said to you that I've been a fan of yours for so long, and not just doing the show, just a fan of your work, and to see your growth from the first time I laid eyes on August Underground to going through Masthead and REDSIN Tower and all the way to the final interview. It's been so awesome to see your growth as an artist. And if you go back and watch August Underground and then watch the final interview, and somebody who doesn't know you say that's made by the same person, it'd be like you're pulling my damn leg.
Well, I hope that with every one of my movies.
Yeah.
I really love the digital medium because I can manipulate the footage to look the way that I want it to look. Like with August Underground, I wanted it to look like deteriorated, VHS tape footage. With Murder Collection, I was able to do everything from, ATM camera footage to surveillance cameras, you name it. And then in the final interview, the cinematic look to the 80s television, that blurry, grainy look to it, especially with like the commercials and things. It's cool being able to play as an artist with my palette.
I really love seeing the commercials. That was awesome. That took me back. It helped set the date of the film too, and really took me back to a place of nostalgia.
Awesome. That's what I hoped it would do.
Now, this was such a big leap from a lot of the work that you did before. Now, as an artist, you're going to want to make what you want to make. Now, on the other side of it, as a businessman, was there any worries that you were making such a departure from your toe tag films? Was that ever in the back of your mind, thinking that some of these people are just not going to understand what I'm doing here?
I think that might be the first, thing people might think. I've been very lucky to have such an amazing group of fans out there who have taken the ride with me on every movie that I've made. And I do my best as the captain to not give them shit or give them a bad, give them a bad ride.
Yeah.
So, you might, my movies definitely started to turn more into having, drama elements to it, because I always believe that when you have drama elements mixed with horror elements, it makes the horror stick a little bit to the bones.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to. That's what I've always wanted to do. I just wanted to tell good stories that were dark, and even though the final interview isn't as disgusting or bloody as my other movies, it definitely it should affect you in a way to where it makes your brain feel like you are watching one of those movies because of what the dialogue and letting you use your imagination instead of me just showing it where I've always showed it. I remember like with August Underground, I wanted to show you everything that Hollywood wouldn't show you. The final interview is me, learning from the masters of suspense, like Hitchcock and Martin Scorsese and Brian De Palma, Oliver Stone. Those guys were really my inspiration on, the final interview. more than a Wes Craven or Tobe Hooper.
Yeah, and you can really see that too, because it is it's such a change in pace from what you did. It's not huge from Sella Turcica because you can really see you digging deeper into a plot and a drama, like you said. But yeah, just seeing this film, I was so surprised, but in the best possible way, because I didn't see this coming from Fred Vogel. And when I saw this totally different movie that was so well crafted, I was just really surprised. And I had other people tell me, I spoke to Ryan Logston, and Ryan told me, it's like this. It's going to blow you away because you would never expect Fred to make a movie like this just from his past work. And Ryan hit it right on the head. So it was just great seeing a totally different side of you, Fred, and I think it came through really well.
Well, thank you. I want to show people, and I want to inspire these young filmmakers out there making smaller budget movies that you can change it up. It doesn't all have to be, let's just gross everybody out. Like if you're a really good craftsman and you can tell a story, tell it. It's taken me 8 movies to tell this kind of story and grow as a filmmaker. I just didn't become the director of The Final Interview overnight. It's taken me almost 20 years to be this filmmaker. And I have my Frankenstein movie, and people are like, oh, when are you going to make this Frankenstein movie? And I'm like, I don't know if I'm old enough to make it yet. I really believe that. I think a lot of directors, have to, just like a fine wine, you have to age before you make something and tell different kind of tales. Because you have to live it. I'm not interested in telling, teeny boppers in the woods getting killed shit at 44. It was different at 30 when I was making the REDSIN TOWER, for sure. But in my 40s, it's like, okay, well, now I really want to tell, darker stories, that have, characters my age or older or whatever. I wanted it to be kind of a grown-up movie as well. Like, I think, we've all, I've known you guys for, a while too. Like, we've all grown. You guys have become fathers and shit. And there's, if I was still cutting off nipples and smearing shit on it, it really, it really wouldn't be as powerful as, telling the story that I tell with this. So.
And it was interesting. I was thinking about where we are in our lives, what our age means with our roles in our life and with our, families and loved ones and things. And, I knew who you were in your 20s, and then I got to know you in your 30s, and then here we are into our 40s. And I love seeing your growth as an artist too, and it's still, you still deliver the darker concepts that we would expect from Fred Vogel, but the journey of where we've come throughout these films, there is a direction, and it is going, through an evolution, and this is a great step in that evolution. It's such an entertaining and compelling film, and I think it's very appropriate because I think this is the film I wanted to see from you right now. And I hope everybody else feels the same way. I think they will.
I do too, and I can't wait for people to see the movie. Like we talked about it, I've been very protective of this movie. There has not been many people who have had it. If you just got a chance to see it, you saw it at a film festival. It's very rare that I send the movie out to people to take a look at. The people that have seen it from me are my close friends or people I respect in the genre. Filmmaker friends who I wanted to, who I respect. I wanted them to see the movie. And one of the things I knew that I was gonna do, I was not gonna send this movie out for review. So like when, I'm hoping that we're gonna be releasing The Final Interview in August. on a special edition Blu-ray, as well as a regular standard edition DVD.
That was my next question. I'm so glad you took it there because this thing needs to be on my shelf.
Yeah, so I'm going to be doing a very limited 1,983 copies on Blu-ray, which will be a special edition, which I'm hoping is going to have the soundtrack from Paul Joyce, as well as lots of cool little knickknacks that go inside it, because I have always been a fan of physical media. I know my fans are fans of physical media, and I want something that's going to be a really nice little time capsule of this movie. And then the DVD will be more of like your just bare bones, version of the film that I can sell on the cheap, just to get the movie out there to more people. It's the times have changed, and I know we're going to be doing streaming with it later on, but first I really want to just get it out there for the fans with the special edition and the regular edition of the movie.
Now, are you looking for some outside distribution for this film as well?
It's so funny because when making the movie, I did not plan on doing self-distribution at all. I wanted somebody to pick it up and get it out there, so I didn't have to, go to the post office every day and send it out. That shit was really starting to get old. It's just hard. It was a lot different back in the day when that's what we did. But now it's my day job is I work on big movies in Pittsburgh now. So I've worked on like the Tom Hanks Mr. Rogers movie. I've done the Netflix show I'm Not Okay With This. I did the Seth Rogen movie, American Pickle, that's going to be on HBO Max coming soon. I was actually working on a Jeff Daniels TV show before the COVID hit. Wow. So it's a lot harder for me. That's kind of why Toe Tag is on a break. It's just because it just became too hard because, with Amazon coming along and everything's getting shipped in 2 days, that was hard for me in Shelby, especially Shelby. And, people would start bitching and moaning if they didn't get their movie in 2 days. And it's like, wait a minute, like, I'm the guy sending your shit out. Shelby's the guy, Shelby's the girl sending your shit out. Like, give me a freaking break. I got, I have a life to live. I just can't be sending, I don't have the power and the people to help me get all this stuff sent out.
It's just amazing how that's really changed people's perceptions on house shipping, and especially independents like yourself. Like the guy who made this film is sending me out the film, and I'm pissed off that I'm not getting it as fast as a huge corporation. It's just so sickening to me.
Oh, it's tough, man. It's the way it is today. It's even like, if somebody messages me on Facebook and I don't respond to it in a day, it's just like, oh, you're too cool to talk to me, or blah, 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 and it's like, hang on a minute. Like, life is hard right now. I don't have a job. My world has been shut down because of this coronavirus, and I'm doing my best to live right now.
And you don't have the conventions, which brings in another revenue stream as well. It's tough right now.
Yeah, absolutely, and people just need to. What's really helping me with the virus and, being home, and it's really making me think of what's important in life. And, spending time with my wife, because, with me working on the movies and Shelby managing a bar, we had totally different hours. So I'd be going to work at 4 o'clock in the morning. She's coming home at 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I'm going to bed at 9 o'clock, so it was one of those things where we, for 6 months, 7 months, we'd see each other for 15 minutes in the morning. And now it's, getting to spend all this wonderful time together, and we're going hiking and, riding our bikes and doing all the stuff that we can. And that, now that there's a little lenience out there, but people just really need just to really appreciate what they have and just relax. Like you'll get your fucking movie.
Yeah, and it's the art that's getting us through. I think I'm hoping people see how important movies and books and everything are right now, because this has helped a lot of us keep our sanity.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. I mean, I'm a physical media collector, but I still stream movies. I couldn't imagine where I don't have that at my fingertips. If it was 1983 and all I have is my 4 stations and maybe cable, we'd be going out of our fucking minds.
Yeah, absolutely.
I couldn't spend $99 on a VHS tape.
Yeah.
We are having a golden age of what is available in media, as much as people are complaining about certain things. The restored versions of shot on video stuff, of forgotten things, of small forgotten, only previously available on VHS stuff that is getting to boutique labels, as well as really great restorations and 4K scans of classics. I mean, we've never had this kind of stuff available. I was blown away, with VHS in the day, and I was saving up money to buy some of the stuff that was priced for rental, and having to spend that extra penny for a VHS copy of something around $100 that wasn't available for retail. And there's just so much out there now. It's just wonderful, and physical media is so important to me too. And I think your core audience really appreciates physical media.
Yeah, and it's hard because with not having a job, and again, money is tight, but you still want to be able to have those luxuries of buying some physical media out there, and I understand that. But it's tough for me even just putting this out. It's not cheap to put out a Blu-ray set. It's not cheap to put out a DVD set. So, and the one thing that I've never done this. I've never really, I never really put my hand out in the crowdfunding thing. For help. I've always tried to do it. I've always tried to do it myself, and Toe Tag would do it ourselves and not really ask for that handout. So again, that's why it's taken a little bit longer for me to have this movie out there, is because I want to make sure it's coming from me, and from me to you, and not from you to me to you again.
Yeah. No, we really appreciate that, and I can't wait to get a physical copy of this. And definitely, August isn't too far away now. So
no, not at all.
Another one that I have to put on my list. I'll have to lie about where this money's going, so I don't have anybody at the house pissed off at me. But
they know now.
Yeah. No,
it's on the show.
Now, Fred, what has there been any new movies the last year or two that's been really inspiring to you that you're seeing out there?
It's really funny what I watch these days. I watch a lot of classics, stuff that I haven't seen, or stuff that I saw a long time ago that needs a second viewing. Like I just picked up the Planet of the Apes 50-year anniversary set with all the movies in there, and
that's a nice
great
one.
Blu-ray set. Yeah.
I can't wait to dive into that, because I remember watching the Planet of the Apes movies as a kid. And of course, and being a monster kid, what monster kid doesn't love monkey movies, especially the Planet of the Apes movies with the great makeup.
There's so many of those films. Like, there's a couple of them done by J. Lee Thompson, who directed Cape Fear, and Kinjite with Charles Bronson, and he did a lot of like cool, awesome guy action movies too. So. I love those. I turned my wife onto those, and she loves them. But I got the Blu-ray set after we started getting into them, and I upgraded. And I need to go back and watch them in the best quality possible too. So
yeah, I just bought myself an all-region 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray player.
Hear that, David? You need to get in the club, man.
You know,
Yeah.
This is
I
essential.
waited a really long time. I mean, I literally have movies here that I couldn't watch because I'm like, oh, I need to have that arrow or I need to have that, and I couldn't play it on anything, and I was just like, oh, I'd rather spend. I collect those LJN rubber wrestling figures from the '80s, and like I'd rather spend my money trying to track down some of those.
Well, that's what happens with me with like the buying a new 4K player. It's like, God, I can buy these 10 movies right now that I can watch immediately, or dump that into a player, and I always lose the battle.
What are some of the other region goodies that you're going to dive into?
Well, I just got the Vinegar Syndrome Rad, which is a 4K. So
I just popped shrink wrap on that tonight. I was looking at my Helltrack poster.
Oh, you could have just sold it for $300 on eBay. You
No.
took off the shrink wrap.
No, that movie's for me, man. It's more valuable to my collection and film history, and for the little guy, my soon-to-be 3-year-old, he needs a good film school, and there's nothing better for film school
Rad.
than Rad.
Oh my God, that movie! I watched that movie like every day back in the day.
It's amazing because they just announced today they pressed 12,000 copies of that, and they sold the last one today, and they just opened the site back up, and I was like, oh man, the Vinegar Syndrome, in what 2-3 years they're becoming a real force. I'm really happy because they're, I think by them putting out Rad is really going to put them on the map.
Hell yeah.
Because that movie is, again, who they're selling movies to are people in their mid 40s to early 30s that love this kind of stuff, and they're just it's the right movie at the right time for them to put out, because it never had a DVD release. I still have my VHS of it. So just to have it on a beautiful 4K and watch it on my TV, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I love companies like that, because I just got Vinegar Syndromes. They did the Candy Snatchers, which is a film.
I got that on sale.
I'd never seen it before,
oh, dude,
and I watched it. Oh, it was so brilliant. I'm like, how did this not come across me before? And I just love that they're doing some films like that. And I know Steven watched Patty Hearst. And said
man,
that was
I'm a Paul Schrader fan, and and that Patty Hearst was great. Ving Rhames was incredible in it.
Yeah. I also plan on picking up Hardcore, which I never had, and I think that's another one.
Oh, Hardcore's mine's Twilight Time. Yeah, I've got the American release, but his previous one before that, Blue Collar, I had to get the Indicator Blu-ray of that. So that was Region B, and that was one of the first things I watched with my my all-region player.
Yeah. It's funny because there was for a little while I kind of I took a break from buying movies. I have so many DVDs that it just got to a point to where I'm like, man, there's no way in life that I'm going to get a chance to watch all this shit again. And my record collection started taking precedence over that.
Which is eclectic too. I do respect my friends that love music of various genres, because there's so many people that are so pigeonholed, and I love seeing your record of the day post because it's nostalgia, and I know you see me comment on them occasionally.
Yeah, thank you.
It really takes me back.
Yeah, it's really important for me to show these records and get people to, if they've never heard of it, give it a listen. I mean, now everybody's got Spotify or they got Pandora. Like, if I put up a record, go listen to a few tracks. Like, what I'm putting out there isn't shit. It's the best. I built my collection for anybody to come into my house and to pick a record and have that record be something that is completely stellar. May it be punk rock, hip hop, rock and roll, a soundtrack, old school country, you name it, I got it, 50s,
Yeah,
70s, 80s, you know, like I really try to I love music. As much as I love film, I love music.
yeah. I think there's a correlation. I mean, if you love film, you love music. I mean, it's just the love of the arts. So you don't find many people who are just film nerds and they don't like music. So it's awesome to see, somebody who I respect in one art form, pushing another art form and seeing their taste there. So I think it's fun to see what you're listening to.
And I don't know if we ignore this a little bit because we had this conversation before you went on air, but the soundtrack to the final interview is very fulfilling. I love it, man. I'm so excited if you're saying that there's going to be a soundtrack option with the special edition or limited edition Blu-ray.
Yes. Paul Joyce, who he did a lot of music for the Dire Wit guys, who made Seventh Day.
Yeah.
I met Paul at Slaughter in Syracuse, which was this really great film festival back in the day that kind of highlighted a lot of the underground filmmakers. And, that's how him and I got, introduced. And I think that, that day that I was there talking to him, I mentioned him that I wanted to make this movie that takes place in the 80s. And he's just one of those guys that, like, I instantly hit it off with, and I felt like we've known each other since, second grade, and we like the same music, and, all the music in the movie is really played by him and his fellow musicians. None of that stuff is on a keyboard. It's not just some, him. No disrespect to people who just use synth or piano to get different, drum beats or whatever. But, there's all the music in the final interview is somebody really playing the drums or really playing the saxophone or really playing the guitar and the bass. I mean, it's all real. And you could hear it, it's really powerful. And it's also, the music is very primal. When you see Tidman for the first time and there's that beautiful camera shot of like going through seeing the prisoners in the cells, it's like banging on, prison bars, like something that the prisoners might use to make music, and the chanting and stuff. So, Paul was always very conscious about, creating these sounds. And I remember he would send me little bits of things and, I would give him my 2 cents and just let him go play. And every time he came back to the table, it was a steak dinner,
And I think it felt so organic, the music in the film and the sound design. It felt like everything was supposed to be there. I love, like, say, Italian scores, and like in the giallos and the Italian horrors. But it wasn't that same feeling. It, like, I didn't hear the score and it's like, that's just an amazing score. It just felt like it should be there. Worked. It was like a symbiotic relationship between the film and the music, and I think it worked great.
Thank you. It's a character, It's I wanted the music to be another character in the film and not just to be something that's just part of the undertone of the movie.
I love how it introduced Oliver Ross. And like we said before earlier, before we went on air, we were talking about the noir connection, to the music and some of the style of the film. And I love some of my favorite movies are written by old school newspaper reporters from the 30s and late 20s and stuff, like Sam Fuller. Mm-hmm. And that type of jazz that's used, introducing, the film and the credits going into it, and that you've got this, reporter, alpha personality coming into it, just like really took me back to that era of journalism and expose, interviews, and it just set up that kind of gritty, old style. We're going to be touching on unpolished life and a look at crime, going into it. And it was great. And it was very refreshing to have a non-synth score. I'd actually gone into doing a lot of synth on some of the stuff I've been doing recently. But I respect, I'm a big jazz head. So I just really, I love saxophone too. Ornette Coleman, Charlie Parker are just like such big, names to me. And I just loved the texture of the jazz and bringing me into the film. So kudos, man. It's awesome. Seriously, I can't wait to hear what other people are going to say about this film. I can talk about it, all day with you, and a lot. And I'm having to stop myself because there's so many things I want to say that we don't want to give it away for these people, because this is we got to see this so early and before so many other people did. I was jealous of the people that got to see it at Nightmares, when y'all took it there.
And we won.
Yeah, yes, congratulations.
Yeah,
man.
we won Best Thriller.
How did the crowd reaction feel?
Oh, wonderful. What a beautiful theater for one. Jason and the guys that run that are really great. It's a great film festival. So happy to be part of it. And show the movie in the theater. And the movie looks so good. I mean, the movie looks really great. Because I did a color correction out in Los Angeles, and put a lot of money into this color to make the movie look really good, especially blown up on a big movie screen. Even though I needed the movie to look good on the movie screen and look good on a television. Like that's, I remember sitting there with my colorist Jason and being like, this is how it has to look good both ways. Like it just can't look good on the big screen. It has to look good on a television as well. And seeing the movie on the big screen is a whole different, it's a whole different animal. Because, Oliver Roth, Granger Heinz, both those characters, Damien and Granger, their faces are so expressive and worn. And Damien's eyes are so, they suck you in. And there's that really great monologue with Granger talking about the Mekong Delta story towards the end of the movie.
Oh, that's so good. That is so good.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. I remember just watching, being there that day, watching it on my monitor, and I got like a lump in my throat because the performance was just so powerful, and I believed every word that was coming out of his mouth, and that's one take.
Really?
Yeah, that's Granger being Granger, and that's the professional that he is. And you can see why the Coen brothers put him in movies, and Steven Spielberg put him in movies, because this guy he's that fucking good.
Yeah, I really appreciate his performance. I compared him to Bryan Cranston. He gave me that feel. That's Brian's an awesome actor, so I feel that's a big compliment for him.
Yeah, no, he is both of them are great actors.
Now, is there anything that you're working on now? With the free time, and any scripts or any ideas floating around?
Yeah, I'm working on two things right now. I actually have a Christmas movie that I have some traction on. There hasn't been a good Santa Claus killer movie in a long time, and I know I can make one. So I myself and Shelby and Rebecca Swan got together and came up with a really great script, and that's actually being shopped around right now.
Awesome.
And I'm working on my wrestling movie. I want to make a movie about wrestling. I love wrestling, professional wrestling. And I have an idea for a wrestling movie that I'd love to make. So that's kind of the fresh project going that I'm working on right now. And I also, like I said, Pittsburgh Body Removal is still something that we're still trying to get money and raise money on. It's just that it's so big, and I want to do it as a television show now instead of a feature film. Because television's really hot, and the idea of Pittsburgh Body Removal just has legs to be a television show. I think, a feature, yeah, it could be, that'd be great. But I think people would want to see 7 seasons of, these guys picking up dead bodies and seeing the stories that they're telling with that.
Oh, that would be awesome. Well, Stephen, anything else that you want to hit on with Fred?
No, man. I mean, there's some stuff I want to really dive into, but that's for after people get to see it. We'll have to do a follow-up with Fred when we can reveal more after the world has seen this film and it's been out there for a while.
Yeah, and Fred, one thing I want to say to you, because we are just now bringing back Sadistic Cinema, and I know you give a lot of encouragement out to a lot of people out there, but I just want to tell you thank you, because early on when I first started this, and this might have been when Steven first came on with me, you and Jason Hoover were so supportive and always had really kind words, and I just want to let you know things like that really do matter, and we will always have a great love for you.
Well, thank you very much. And Jason Hoover, I miss you. Where are you? I have no idea.
He retired down in Florida.
Jason, last time I saw him was at the world premiere of my film Black Friday, and we got to hang out a little bit. He was working hard though. But after that,
he always worked hard. Jason worked hard. I miss him.
Everything, man. He is one of my favorite people. And sometimes I was wondering about like, is he really engaged? But it's because he is putting all his energy into supporting what he needs to support, and his love for film and cinema, and supporting the filmmakers, when he was running the film festival in Days of the Dead, when he was doing that. But it was really awesome being able to spend time with him and see him when I had Black Friday, and I miss him a lot. I think we've talked a couple times online since then. So if Jason Hoover does hear that, big love, man.
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
a lot of us out here that miss you.
Yeah, and Days of the Dead, that's where the first time I met you, Fred. And I going in, it was like, I want to meet Fred Vogel because I love his movies. Like, there's Damien Eccles, who I really want to meet. The first Days of the Dead I went to, and of course you had Sid Haig and Bill Moseley. But I tell people, the first time I met you, I was just so blown back by just how real nice guy you were. Because, even being around filmmakers, even a lot of filmmakers who make some weird stuff and really dark stuff, they're usually nice guys. But if somebody met you and just like they're out at the bar, have a drink with Fred Vogel, and then you show them August Underground, it's like, I can't believe that guy made that film. And and it's funny because a lot of people say that about you as well. But if you're ever at a convention, you get a chance to meet Fred, go to the toe tag table, buy some movies, and Fred's just an awesome guy to talk to.
Thank you very much.
Now, hopefully we'll get some conventions going soon. You think you'll be out there hitting some more when everything's opened up?
I hope so. I took a break a few years ago from the scene. I was doing conventions since 2001, so I was there in the heyday, and then I got to see it. I watched it. I seen the fights and the love and the hate and everything through all of them. And it just got to the point to where I just was getting tired. I was just getting tired of just the bullshit that kind of came with it. It was awesome seeing my friends and seeing the fans and stuff, but it just wasn't what it was. So I kind of took a break, and I would only do Cinema Wasteland, which is like our home show.
Yeah.
But I knew with the final interview, especially if I was going to put it out, that I'd have to get out there. But what I'm hoping is I'm hoping that we can spread the word about the movie as much as possible, and these Blu-rays, because again, there's only going to be 1,983 of them of the special edition released, so those are going to go pretty fast. and if I got to get on the road to sell them, I will.
Are they going to be sold through toetag.biz?
No, they're not.
How should the people look out for them?
There'll definitely be information on my Facebook and my Instagram pages, but it'll be on the Final Interview website.
And we'll promote that when we see info releases from you. We'll definitely share that, promote it too.
Yeah, and I hope to sell do some wholesaling. Mike at Grindhouse Videos, he's been picking up some of the August Underground movies. I'm out of print of everything, so like you can't get anything from I have a few copies of stuff floating around that if somebody contacts me, you're like, hey Fred, by any chance do you have an August Underground Blu-ray? And if I have one here, yeah, I do. But other than that, everything is pretty much gone. And I'm just really focused on the Final Interview right now, and Toe Tag is kind of taking a break, which was very much needed, and kind of again, Toe Tag, we're just getting older and doing different stuff to survive.
Yeah.
Jeremy is out. He's out in Los Angeles and he's working on a lot of the big movies out there in the effects houses. He did Captain Marvel, and he does all the big costumes and stuff like that for the big studio pictures. I'm working on the big studio pictures here in Pittsburgh, and it pays a lot more than making underground movies.
Yeah. And
it's a little different when you're in your 20s and your early 30s and you're living with each other. And it's balls to the wall punk rock, but when you get a little older and it's like now you have a mortgage to pay or mouths to feed, you kind of have to do what's right for you and the family,
Definitely.
And Toe Tag, it had such longevity. It hit hard and it hit for a long time, so it's there's nothing wrong with it. Taking a siesta or evolving and moving and everybody doing their own things from here on out. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And, we also, since we shout out to everybody, we definitely, we told you how much we care for you in the past. We also want to shout out to Shelby too, because she's been an awesome part of the industry and, can't wait to get up with you guys when things change and open back up.
Oh, thank you, and she thanks you too. She's she's an amazing human being. I'm not just saying that because I'm her husband. No, she's, I think behind every great filmmaker, man, is a woman. Hitchcock had his wife. I've got mine. And she reads the scripts and she pays much more attention to detail. She's got a really great ear and a really great eye, and if I miss something, she's the first one to catch it. If I'm completely gassed by the end of the shoot and I need to sleep, she'll stay up an extra 3 hours and make sure everybody's taken care of for me. So I can get my rest and do what I have to do to focus on what I need to focus on. And she never complains about any of that stuff. Like, she ran the Toe Tag store for years and the screen printing and everything like that. Every T-shirt, every hoodie, everything anybody ever bought from Toe Tag was hand screen printed from her. And she doesn't get enough credit. So thank you for saying that.
No, she's amazing, and I think I've said all before. I think you guys are my favorite couple in the horror business. But thanks so much, Fred. It's always a joy to talk to you, and thank you so much for letting us see this film. And I think it was amazing. It was just so good to see this different side of Fred Vogel, and I wish you all the best luck, and I hope many, many people get a chance to see it.
I hope so too, and and of course, people are going to shit all over me like they always do on the movie database and say the movie sucks and I suck, and don't you love being a filmmaker? Critics,
man. Everybody's a critic.
Filmmakers, the first thing you need to have when you're making movies is you have to become really thick-skinned and not listen to what people say, because there's always people there to shit on you and take you down.
Man, and we're doing stuff that makes us so vulnerable. And then we have to have that thick skin, yet we're trying to connect with an audience. It's it's not fair.
No, you got to be empathetic, sensitive, and thick-skinned all at the same time.
Yeah, because I'm not going to sit, I'll read something and it's like, as much as I want to be like, fuck you, you don't understand this, or blah, 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 blah. I just, okay, whatever. It's not even worth my time writing or responding to shit.
Well, and then you're the bad guy.
And I become
if
the bad
you shit on somebody for shitting on you.
Yeah.
You're now the bully because you have a name and they don't.
Yeah.
But hey, it is what it is. But thank you. Anything else that you want to touch on, Stephen, before we leave?
No. Well, let's ask Fred. Is there anything? Obviously, the Final Interviews website. What do you need people to check out there on the internet?
Well, right now there's not much. I'm not even sure if there's a Final Interview website. There might be a page there or something. It's something, again, Shelby and I are working on ourselves to put up. I've been really laying low with everything. When it's ready to come out, everything will drop. But as of right now, things are just kind of on the down low. If you want to see what I'm doing in my record of the day, that's kind of what I'm into right now. You could just follow me on Facebook or my Instagram, and that's kind of what I got going on. I like turning people on about music. I can't, the whole thing with my record of the day started because I kept getting in trouble for posting pictures of my movies. And I post a picture of me doing makeup with blood, and I get flagged and banned for a week or a month or whatever. I just got tired of that shit, and it's like, well, if I can't be me as a filmmaker, I might as well be me as a lover of music. So people are like, did Fred stop making movies, and is he just like promoting records now? And it's like, yeah, no, I'm still making movies, but I'm promoting music that I love.
Yeah, I've had to calm down myself, and it's not even me making movies. It's if I have something that might be a statement that not everybody enjoys, I seem to get banned for a while. So I was like, I'm just talking art, and I'm not even going to have a strong opinion on it anymore. I'll do that on my show.
Yeah.
But thanks a lot, Fred. So people check out Fred's Facebook. We will, we'll keep you in tune. If you're part of our group, that is the Sadistic Cinema community, we will definitely keep you updated on anything coming out from Fred in our group as well. You can also follow us on Twitter at sadistic_cinema. Any filmmakers interested in coming on the show, you can email us at sadisticcinema@gmail.com. Anything I missed, Stephen?
No, I think we're good, man.
Okay,
Wait,
great.
Did we say Twitter?
Yeah.
We did say Twitter? Sorry, I was...
I hit Twitter.
Making some notes here.
Yeah, we're on Twitter now. We had to fucking break down and do Twitter, but whatever. It is what it is. But thanks a lot, people, for coming out and listening to us. Again, Fred, we really enjoyed having you on, and thanks for coming on again to talk with us.
Thank you, guys.
This is Sadistic Cinema, where we explore the darker side of the art. Look out for us next week. We'll have some new content up for you. Have a great night.